Greetings and welcome to another edition of Caring About Seniors. I am your host, Adrienne Houghton. As you know, each week I sit down with Oasis Senior Advisors Jacksonville and we discuss all aspects of senior living. Today I'm joined by Oasis Client Advisor Bagocius, and our guest today is an octogenarian with a fascinating story. Welcome, gentlemen, Hank Lengfellner and Al. So, Hank, I'm sure you don't mind me telling everyone that you're 82 years old.
Proud of it.
And before you became a caregiver, you had quite an interesting and rich life. Would you like to just briefly touch on that?
I started out in chemistry labs with William S. Merrill and Pharmaceutical Company and Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati. And then I went into selling laboratory instruments equipment. Moved on. I spent a number of years in management in battery industry and metal fabrication, superintendent of plants. Took me from Iowa to Florida. And then I had an opportunity to proceed in something that interests me from a long, long time. I saw an ad for a surveyor field crew. And I started as a rodman in mid-40s in survey business and fell in love with it, worked, and 6.5 years I became a registered surveyor and finished my career as a director of surveying for a land development company.
Now tell me, how did you meet? How did you meet Al?
Dumb luck. I became 24/7 caregiver for my wife who developed Alzheimer's. And I got pretty much to the end of my tether, physically, emotionally, and talked to people at church. And I was directed to Al as someone who was familiar with senior problems and how to deal with them. And called, talked to him, we talked a bit, and worked out he put me on the right trail, introduced me to people, a lady who was able to take care of changing over from Medicare, Medicaid, companies that have nursing home facilities, which good ones were good ones, and not mention ones that were not, and I interviewed, this was in the middle of the worst of the early COVID. Only one company would let me visit even. And I went and toured the facility and it was absolutely fantastic. They were just opening up a wing for dementia, Alzheimer's female patients. And I was able to get my wife Sharon in, and I've been very happy. They provide a great service for her, and took area off my mind of concern.
You have quite a support system, don't you?
I would not have survived without it.
And tell me, what was it that pushed you to the limit, really? It was just that it was physically too difficult for you to cope with everything, or did you not know that there was help out there?
Well, I didn't know the extent of the help that was open, and I went through a series. My wife wanted to wander. She wanted to go. She didn't really know where, but she would climb out the windows and drop down as 8 foot from the windowsill to the ground. Yeah. That happened many times, to the point to where I took sheet metal screws and put so the windows could not be opened.
To protect her? To
protect her, keep her from I put double key locks and carried the key for the doors, front and back, around my neck on a chain, so she couldn't go out the door. And she got down to a point to where she could barely walk, incontinence, and Al and I had developed a bit of a friendship by that point. And I told him I was concerned. I was 81 and tired and worried. And I told him, let me text you every morning about 10 o'clock. And if you don't get a text, call and find out why. I became sincere. I have a pacemaker, defibrillator, type 2 diabetic, with COVID. Who knows?
And it was lonely, wasn't it, really?
Yes.
It was very lonely. So people that have shepherded you through this maze of
It's the bureaucracy and missteps you can make are disturbing, to say the least.
So tell the viewers, because I'm sure there's people out there thinking, well, I don't want to make those same mistakes. What are some things that you can do to what do you need to know? What would you like to tell people that you have, what knowledge have you acquired?
Number one, if they have even the slightest belief in God, go to the church, their church, or another church, and seek some help there. Because frequently they know people that can assist and they can counsel. Or if you have a friend that has gone through this, talk to them. My oldest son and his wife, the parents went through the same. His mother went through Alzheimer's, and her father is okay. He was chairman of biological sciences at the University of Louisville. Very bright, brilliant man, professional, but he got to a point to where he could no longer take care of himself, but he was still sound mind. And he needed to go into home. They found a place, and they were in Wisconsin, went through, and Linda advised me of some of the things that they'd found out in the process of dealing with his problem. So I got a little bit here, a little bit there, and put things together. If I may read something.
Absolutely.
Just recently, it was Darwin's birthday, and Al keyed me on to a quotation from Charles Darwin. In the long history of humankind, and animal kind too, those who have learned to collaborate, improvise most effectively have prevailed. And that's sort of the story of my life. Improvise and prevail.
Wow.
Al, I mean, Hank isn't alone in the situation that he's had. How many people do you see in similar situations?
Quite a few. A lot of people I talk to over the phone. I think it's basically I'm well networked, and that's what happened with you in the church. Somebody who knew me referred you to me. And I just think, and Hank reinforced this, that people just don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And Hank's best advice, go to a church, your church, go to your social group, your friends, and just ask. But to go back to your original question,
Sadly, there's too many.
There's too many, and I take phone calls from about 6 in the morning till about 10 o'clock at night. And I guess what I do best is just connect people to the right help that they need.
It used to be that there was a stigma attached to somebody going into residential living.
Mm-hmm.
But now they're so beautiful, these places, that they're almost like really good hotels, and the people are cared for, and so you don't have to worry too much, do you?
No, and here's what happens. Somebody is living alone at home. They're left to their own devices. They get lonely. Their thoughts wander. they lose some cognitive abilities that may not be dementia, but just loneliness.
Yes.
And I have some wonderful stories where I found a senior community for a senior. The adult children are worried to death about what's going to happen to them in there. They come over and see their mom or dad. The mother and father in the senior community looks up and says, "I got bingo in 10 minutes. What are you doing here?" So things happen for the positive, and that kind of dementia behavior is evaporated because now the social integration is going full speed ahead. The neurons are firing up.
Yeah.
All the endorphins are going, and they're much happier.
Yeah, of course, it's a social thing. So, saying that, tell me about your monthly meetups.
We and a third friend chatted back and forth, and we started texting on a regular basis, sometimes several times a day, just what we're doing. And well, we need to have lunch, get together. And that took about 3 months before everybody got their calendar cleared on a given day. And finally we got together, I believe it was the first Tuesday in November.
Yeah.
And we enjoyed each other's company, had a good time. And going out the door, said, "Well, we need to do this again." I said, "Well, let's do it. Let's just plan it right here and now. This is the first Tuesday in November. Let's do this the first Tuesday in December and set it up on a monthly basis. That way we can clear our calendars, specify, and invite other people that might be interested, sharing." And this has gone on. Sometimes we had to shift it a bit, something come up. Sometimes one person can't make it for whatever reason. But I think all of us have found this important enough in our social and emotional well-being that it's necessary. He was talking about the facilities. My wife's facility has an ice cream parlor that twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I believe it is, in the afternoon, they open up and all the patients get a couple of scoops of ice cream. They have a craft shop. They have a beauty parlor that are available for use by the patients. Within the limits, the wing that my wife is in, Alzheimer's, has to be secure and the key pass locks so they can't go in and out. Only the people can go in and out that are supposed to.
But it must be a huge weight off your mind, knowing that she's in a wonderful place, that she's safe, and she's cared for.
Also, the first time I walked in, I looked around, and the employees were smiling.
Yeah, that's it. That says something, doesn't it?
I've worked a lot of years in a lot of different places, and I worked places where people were not happy being there. And if you just watch them walk up and down the hall, it was readily apparent that they'd rather be somewhere else.
Yeah.
These were not.
Yeah.
The thing that Hank told me, and I think you might remember this, he saw the executive director and a couple of the other managers fixing something, getting their fingernails dirty. And Hank, I have to say this because I've been dying to say it, Hank's in the second oldest profession in America. And I love that. I love that tagline.
We won't go into the oldest profession in the world, but the second oldest were the rope pullers, as they were called in Mesopotamia and Egypt, to where after the floods every spring, the rope pullers would come out and measure out to reestablish the tracks where the farmers would plant their crops.
Right.
So also we refer to as Mount Rushmore as the Surveyor's National Monument. because there's the 3 surveyors and the other guy.
Thank you for coming in. It's wonderful to talk to you. Before we go, is there something that you would like to tell the viewers?
If you're faced with a friend, parent, child that has dementia or Alzheimer's, there is help out there.
Yeah.
You just got to go look for it and find it. It's very doubtful that it will come and find you.
That's so true.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in and sharing your story. It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
And don't forget, if you'd like to know any more information, you can always find it on iwannabuzz.com. Look forward to seeing you again soon.